you can live a life in flow where your deepest heart's desires become reality. At Set to Love, we offer strategies and ideas on how you can stay out of crazy town. See, your human experience is meant to be lived with meaning, purpose, and creativity. You are here to contribute through your essence. We are best friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and above all, find our flow in assisting you to find yours. We come together weekday mornings to bring you ideas to fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on. Take what works and ditch the rest, and always stay set to love. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go. Good morning, everyone.
Yay!
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am
Hi,
so
Sarah.
excited
Welcome.
to have Sarah on the call today. Hello, Miss Sarah.
So
Gregg.
excited
cool.
to be here.
Thank you
So
so much
excited.
for being willing to come on the Set to Love podcast and live stream with us this morning and teach us all about flow and your flow journal system. Let me tell you a little bit about Sarah before we jump in and just start talking to her. We're so excited to have her. Sarah is a relatable, no-nonsense, amazing human who has spent well over a couple years studying flow, and she has over 10 years in life coaching, business coaching. She's an amazing human being, and she worked with creativity and figured out how to create a journal system, especially for those like type A personalities, those people who just want to get stuff done, want to be high achievers, but want to have flow in their life. And she created the system really for herself, put it out there in the world, and a publisher noticed it, reached out to her and said, will you please write a book about this flow journal system? And she did. And this is the culmination of it.
Yay.
Find your flow. And it's a beautiful book. It's an amazing publisher. Is it Quattro?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I mean, just even the way that the let me go this way. I mean, it's just such a beautiful book, and it has everything that you need in it, so that way you can journal your way to more flow. So please welcome Sarah Gregg to the show. We are so excited for Flow Friday. Yay, welcome.
Yay.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Shelly. I'm so excited to be here. I really am. And I love your intro and the fact that you really bring attention to the fact that everyone can live in flow and it's a state that everyone can access. Such a beautiful message.
Thanks, Sarah. Why don't you tell us, I mean, I talked a little bit about you, but why don't you tell us where you're from, how you got into all of this, why it's so important to you? We'll just
my lovely accent is originally from Belfast in Northern Ireland, where I grew up for a long time, but have moved away and have spent the past 3 years traveling. And I fell in love with flow by accident, actually. I was in a point in my life where I was happy on the outside, like my life looked good on the outside, but I was completely frazzled on the inside. You know, I just felt so overwhelmed by life. I had worked hard. I had followed all the rules to life, you know, ticked all its boxes. Life looked great. And yet my reward of happiness wasn't there. I was like, I feel empty, like lacking, unfulfilled. And I knew that something had to change, not on the outside, but on the inside. And in terms of flow and synchronicity, I just happened to speak to someone and they recommended a book. And I ordered the book, and inside the book was a paragraph on flow, about how in flow we're able to, you know, feel our best and perform our best. And to me, it opened a gateway to really redefine what happiness and success means, because I wanted both. I wanted to still nurture that achievement side of me, the part of me that wants to fulfill my potential and do extraordinary things in the world. But I didn't want to do it at the expense of my happiness. And what I loved about flow and the psychology of flow is it shows you that you can have both. And it was from there that I began my absolute love affair. And and passion with flow. And now it is really the philosophy, and it's the way that I live my life. And it is transformed not only the things that I've achieved, but I think most importantly, the way I feel about life, the way I feel about myself, and the way that I experience the world.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely what we want everyone to feel.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing is that everyone can feel it, but it requires a bit of paradigm shifting. It requires a different way to view things. But once you enter that, the world shifts and changes inside and out, and it becomes this beautiful experience. You're no longer chasing the destination. You're not hustling all the time, making sacrifices and difficult choices. Instead, you enjoy the journey, because happiness and achievement go side by side. So all of a sudden, life becomes about its unfolding. You want to reach the destination, and inevitably, because of flow and the fact you can achieve more in less time and synchronicities increase, you get there faster, but the joy is in the journey. And it's really helped me slow down and enjoy life and appreciate each day.
So Sarah, my question for you is, let's pretend that someone just stumbles upon this video. They've never even really heard the term flow, or maybe they intuitively understand flow states a little bit because they've felt that. But what does living in flow, what does flow really mean to you?
Really great question. Flow for me is about feeling my best and performing my best. It's about the unfolding of the journey and uncovering my potential and feeling the rich joy of what it means to be alive. Where life is no longer this problem to be solved, but it is this beautiful space and time in which you can experience. It's about adding complexity into my routine so that I can see, what can I achieve, what's possible, and getting curious about what my purpose is and what alignment feels like for me. And also and it sounds really a strange way to phrase it, but it's getting curious about what your resistance is. The more that you feel in flow and the more you delve into your potential and release it, inevitably, the more you dig down and you feel a little bit of that resistance, whether it's fear, self-sabotage, a critical inner voice. But I think the beautiful thing with flow is what it enables you to do is to get curious about, why is that showing up for me, and how do I minimize it, or how do I remove it so that I can, flow with greater ease. But for me, truly, flow is feeling my best, performing my best, and enjoying the unfolding of life.
Do you, Sarah, did you have those critical voices? I mean, did this obviously, you wrote the book, so you've evolved to some of this, but I'm wondering, can people relate to you in the sense that you've achieved a lot of these goals? Where would, if they had problems with, self-sabotage or not being able to get out of their way, or fear, like, where would they start?
Yeah, first of all, I had all those things, all of them and more. In fact, when the book was first published, I, at one stage, was having a drink with my husband and was so fearful because I knew the book was out for reviews. And the very first review that I got was 1 star. And it broke my heart. It absolutely broke my heart. The person just didn't resonate with it at all. And I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach, and I wanted to write to my publisher to say, how much can I pay you to not publish this book? Because I was genuinely just so terrified. I think regardless of the achievements that you look at in any individual, fear travels alongside you, and that inner critic and the resistance travels alongside you. I think the temptation and my strategy in the past was always to push down and resist, was to run away from it. But now I work with it. And a really great tip, and this is part of the journal system for flow, is using nighttime reflection each night just to learn from that. And one thing that I do is when I'm reflecting on something about myself, instead of saying, why did I do that thing? Why did I feel so fearful? Simply just replacing it with your name. So why did Sarah feel like that? Why was Sarah so fearful? That's proven in psychology to create cognitive distance, and it actually enables you to give yourself advice as if you were looking at a friend's life. Because I think we all kind of know, we can see people in our friendship groups who, you know, self-sabotage and you know, are fearful, and we have conversations, you know, behind their back, and we're like, why doesn't she just do this, or why can't she just see that? And it's so clear to us. So when you just change up the I and replace it with your name, it creates this beautiful distance so that it doesn't feel so critical. You're creating that cognitive distance. But fear and getting out of your own way is part of flow. Flow is not, you know, it's not going to remove all your problems instantly, but what it does is it almost creates a safe environment where you think, how can I get back into alignment with myself? How can I work with my fear? How can I work with that part of me that's showing up, so that I can clear the path, so that I can flow with greater ease?
Wow, that's great
Sarah,
advice.
I love, did you hear how she said, it travels alongside you. Fear travels alongside you. So many times we see be fearless, or get over your fears, or minimizing the fears that we have. But I love that you said it just travels alongside of you. Like it's just a part of life. Like, let's go along for the ride.
Yeah. Another really great bit is like in psychology, my background's in psychology, is like talking to parts, which sounds really strange, but it's a proven therapy where you talk to that part of yourself. So I talk in my head to fear. So if I'm about to do something that's really out of my comfort zone and that fear voice becomes really, really loud, I like sit with it, have a cup of coffee with it. I'm like, okay, let's hear what you have to say. Come on, this is your safe space. And just have this little conversation. You can do it in your head, or you can do it with your journal. And I think that's a key part of flow, is this wholeness. It's taking all the fragmented parts of yourself and bringing them together so that becomes your unique you. You know, that fear is part of you. The anxiety is part of you. The self-sabotage is part of you. But actually they all work with a positive intention. It's got nothing to be frightened of. You just need to get them on your side and be like, cool, you're not going to die if you do this. It's perfectly safe. How can I work with you? What is the smallest step that we can take that isn't going to terrify you and is going to give you the evidence that this is safe?
That's really powerful. Thank you so much for that tip.
I
was thinking about our questions this week, and I thought, I wonder what Sarah thinks about some of these questions. So Monday we talked about having passion in your career, and if that's even important, and if that's even part of flow. So I want to know what your take on that is. Do you think it's important that you have to have some connection with your career? Do you have to have some passion in your career? Or can you have passion in other places and not in that, if you want a life in flow? What are your thoughts on that question?
That's a really great question. I think, first of all, flow is unique to each of us. So if you feel in alignment and if you feel like that is working for you, then that works for you. And that, I can't question that in any way at all. I think for me, the passion in my career is extremely important. I think particularly when you're self-employed and you're maybe running your own business, you know, your business is your home in which you live in. You can't really exit the office. You know, you reside in it 24/7. And so passion has to be the cement in the walls and the foundation in which you build upon. Otherwise, it's just not a nice place to live. And finding that passion can be a tricky process, and it can be overwhelming. I think people hear the term passion and purpose and they think that sounds great, but I'm so far away from that. You know, where do I even start? And I think the key is those micro steps. It's those small little steps that build momentum, and there's magic in momentum. And I think often we lose that message in our quick fix, instant gratification culture, where it's just like success happened like this. And it's like, it didn't. You know, there were 100,000 different steps that person took before they got to that point. So it's about starting small. But I think if you have a passion, and if you have the courage to follow it, and if you have the ability to integrate it into your career, then that can be the most beautiful foundation in which to live. But equally, if you're really just happy rocking up to the office and maybe inputting some data in an Excel spreadsheet so that you can go out and do what you love in the meantime, and that works for you, then that works for you. the key bit in flow is it is unique to us in the same way that your DNA is unique or your thumbprint is unique. You've got to connect what is right for you and write the rules to your life. And as long as that aligns and as long as that works and as long as you're not harming anybody and it makes you happy, then that is what creates flow for you.
That's really powerful. So what gets in the way of people creating more flow in their life? What keeps them from that?
I think first of all is awareness of where flow actually occurs. I think in life we are so busy and so bombarded with obligations, pressures, notifications on our phone that we're not even aware of when we feel in flow and what ignites that passion in us when we feel totally absorbed, when we feel in that alignment. You know, those moments fleet and pass by and we're not tuned into that. So I think the first thing is to tune into the rhythm and current of your own life and pay attention to where flow shows up for you. Make note of it and then add more into it. And in that way, then you begin to kind of move more into that alignment. But I think the first part is it's not going to magically show up just because you like the sound of it. You've got to become the scientist in your own life and experiment and see what works and pay attention.
So how do people cultivate that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shelley.
I'm sorry. What came up for me with that was, what about somebody who really is not in a great place, who's kind of pessimistic and just like, yeah, that sounds good for her, but my life is in such shambles. There's no way I'm even close to flow. And I don't even know what that's really all about. What would you say to that person that thinks they can't have flow?
I would say I was that person. You know, when I left my job back in 2016, I left my job, I sold my house, I sold all my stuff, and I left with a backpack on a plane with zero flow in my life. I mean, literally nothing. And I had no idea as to what I wanted to do. And I was broken as a person. I remember there was nothing that really lit me up. I was so disconnected from myself and what I liked. I remember someone saying, well, what do you like? What do you enjoy doing? Think about that. And I remember thinking, I want to slap you in the face because I have no idea what I like doing. I don't know. And it's so frustrating. So I get that place. I think what helps is just taking it day by day. Like that feels like a really big mountain to climb, you know, when you're at the foot of it. And people are throwing out really great advice and you're thinking, I don't know where to start. And the answer, as frustrating as it sounds, is you start with the smallest steps that you can take. And gradually you climb that mountain, you discover your passions, you pay attention. And then all those little, that compound effect, that momentum, it aligns and somehow, you know, I have no idea. It is flow that has brought me to this place in 3 years. Since that broken person who everyone, genuinely my friends and family were so worried about me. I've published 2 books. I'm just about to have my 2nd book published. I've traveled around the world. If you traveled in a time machine back to me then, I would have laughed at you in the face and said, there is no way that that's possible from this simple word flow. Like that's not possible. Like no way. But actually it is all those little steps. And you know, Sky Nelson Isaacs, who is our other kind of good friend in flow, you know, he says, when you align, circumstances align with you. And I think that's the key. The more you can move in and have the courage to ask yourself those difficult questions, like, what do I like? What do I want from life? And the more you can recognize that you are the only person that can save yourself. There's no knight in shining armor coming. There's no person with a crystal ball. There's no one that can guarantee your future. The more you can trust yourself and trust, I like to write, I like to research, I like to do all these things. I align with that. And then people and opportunities appear and the journey unfolds and you begin to write it and take control of it for yourself. But it all starts with a small step. And if you're not willing to take that step, then you will stay stuck. It's kind of as simple as that.
So Sarah, what would be like what was the first big step that you took?
Right.
If you're in a really dark place, would you say getting out, like leaving getting in, changing your environment, or was it some meditation or breathing practice, or what was like something, the first thing that you did? You're at the bottom, you feel like you have no flow, you're so disconnected with your essence. What would you say is just the first very practical thing to that sort of self-awareness?
The first thing that I did was I had got a bit of paper, because I was like, this is like a blank sheet. I just need to start all over again and just forget, that what I built my life around actually didn't work. So I got a blank bit of paper. And what I did was I mapped out 3 different versions of my life over 5 years. And I just drew it like, this is me. So, this is me if I just continue my 9-to-5 job. This is me if I do something like wild and crazy. And I drew it out and I visualized each one of those 3 different lives, those 3 different possibilities in my head. And I started to connect with like, what felt good for me? Like, what did alignment feel like? And then from that, kind of started to look at the patterns and notice, okay, well, why does that thing excite me? And became a bit more of a detective. But I think it's it's more than the logical thinking. It's about noticing how you feel and tapping into that. And I think often when we're very busy, or we've had experienced some form of trauma or some form of loss or some form of life-shifting moment, we become de-selfed. We don't connect with the self. We lose our sense of intuition and we want the logical answer. So I would say the first thing to do is to think about the things that you like, either draw out different maps and see how you feel. I also wrote down a list of 100 things that I like to do, which is really difficult actually when you try to do it. And I started to try and notice the patterns and ask myself those questions. What do I like? What do I enjoy? And then how can I integrate more? And then equally getting curious, like you said, about, I tried meditation, I tried different exercises, and just built it up at my own pace. And the little breadcrumbs of clues, they do come together, all the little jigsaw pieces, they come together and they start to form a pattern and they start to fit. But you have to trust the process and trust yourself in the process, because I know it feels really overwhelming, but it just starts with a single step and it builds and it grows from there.
My next question is, Eva and I, a few years back, we hiked the Grand Canyon. And that was such an amazing experience, and challenging ourselves to do something like that almost seemed impossible. Neither one of us were even hikers. There were a lot of tears. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of growth. It was just, when I was finished with that hike, I felt like, I am woman, hear me roar. Like, I can do anything. If I could do this at my age, wow. My question for you is, did you do anything like that to really give yourself confidence about yourself that you really can? Because I think that kind of gives you a momentum.
It does. And I think those moments are really great. Your brain needs it. It needs that evidence that you can achieve more than you thought possible. I didn't do anything quite as close to that, but I think the most challenging thing for me was I went to Thailand and I did like a meditation retreat where I lived with monks for like a week and lived in their monastery. It was all free, and I had to like get up in the morning and, serve them breakfast. And then they taught me how to meditate, which I had never meditated in my life before. My work used to put on mindfulness classes that I would dodge because I was like, this is the biggest pile of rubbish that I don't want my brain to slow down. I'm quite happy being always on the go. And that was really mentally challenging for me, not on a physical level, but on a mental level. I remember the first night being there and I cried for most of the night. And I just thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, like being alone with my own thoughts. That I had spent years repressing down into a very, very dark place. But I think you're so right. In those moments, in flow, it's called the optimal level of challenge. Like in those moments where you stretch your skills to the next level of ability, you remind yourself how powerful you are. So often we just stay in the comfort zone, and we don't like anything that's difficult or anything that challenges us. But actually, when you do the impossible or what feels the impossible to you, you remind yourself that, yeah, like you can do it. And it's that rush and exhilaration that you feel like that was a beautiful line, you know, I am woman, hear me roar. Like, yeah, I'm here and I can do this. And it's that self-belief.
Yeah.
Sarah, I have so many questions that are racing through my mind. I don't even know which one to ask first. But the first, okay, when you looked at your life path, you see these 3 different options. Do you say, okay, this one, the option B, feels like if this could work out, I'd be the happiest? And then do you just pick it and start laying bricks towards that? And how do you get past the, okay, this is the one I want, and going back to that fear thing again? But it just seems like, doesn't that seem overwhelming, or kind of like, how do you even, now you have your plan that you want, how do you move that into action, or what steps did you take next from that?
I think in the same way anybody that achieves anything takes steps. So if you think about learning how to drive a car, right? When you're younger and you're like, I'm going to get behind the wheel of a car, and you don't know how anything works, and it goes fast and it could be dangerous, and you don't necessarily trust yourself behind the wheel, and your first lesson's terrible and it's awful, but you follow a process and you gradually build up the skills and you go. In the same way, the basketball player, you know, they've got to learn the rules of the game first, you know, then they've got to have the courage to go for the tryout, you know, then they've got to face the suffer and the losses. And all we focus on is, you know, that NBA championship when they're there. The same applies, you know, regardless in your life. So I wrote down, I still have the book, I still have my little map, I've kept it, because I didn't know if any of it was actually going to happen. And like one of the things was write a book. Another one was like do a TED talk, you know, all these things that I was honestly just too scared to ever voice, because I didn't believe it was possible. Like, who am I to write a book? How could that ever happen? And then I just each day set small priorities that aligned with that overall vision. So, okay, how do I practice my writing? I'm going to start an Instagram account. And that was my first step. I opened an Instagram account and I started to just practice my writing and put up like long form posts where I could feel my voice and get in touch with myself. And then I started a blog, and then I did a little bit on Medium. And then it was only, I think I was 9 months into the Instagram account when the book came about, you know, which is incredible. I mean, that is kind of extraordinary in a lot of ways, but without those small steps, I wouldn't have been in a position to say yes to the book. So you don't know the unfolding. I think so often we get stuck in this logical part, which is like, yeah, but how could that happen? And if I had have applied that to myself, I wouldn't have taken one single action. I would have been like, I could never write a book. It's not logical. I'd have to write a million different book proposals, so I'm not doing it. Versus, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. That's the adventure of life. You only get one go, right? Well, I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to start an Instagram account. And I enjoyed it. So it didn't really matter. Like, I wasn't doing it because I wanted the book. I was like, I love writing. This is really helping, like, heal me. It's helping me find my voice. Like, I feel challenged and excited about how can I put that word in? How can I express this? So like, it felt like a joy. And it's like, that's what life is about. Life is literally an undefined period of time. You are born, and at some point you're going to die, and you don't know when that is, unfortunately. And it's days and hours and minutes that form that lifetime. And what you choose to do and pay attention to within that time, within that ordinary period of time, defines the content of your life. So you either sit and you think about it and you get caught up in logic and you try to live life in your head, trying to solve it all, or you get out and you experiment with it and let life respond to you. And that's what flow is. When you do what you love and you find out what that is and you experiment and you just get curious, then you like do this beautiful little dance with the universe where you co-create together. And it's a joy. Like, it doesn't even matter if the destination happens or the goal happens. That is actually irrelevant to me in the process. The joy is I do what I love. I love what I do. I see myself grow and develop. I experience myself on many different levels and have become many different versions of myself throughout this process. but I love it. I love life, and it's given me my love of life back. Before, I was fearful and dreaded life. I felt like it was something that was going to hurt me, that it was something that was testing me. It was something I had to, win and achieve and get a gold star to be like, you're okay, Sarah, you're worthy. Whereas now it's like, I'm worthy, I'm here, I'm just going to have fun, just doing what I enjoy. And then it flows. It's not scary anymore.
Oh, that was so good, Sarah. I kept going, oh, that's a soundbite. Oh, that's another one. Oh, listen to that. She's so good. I hope everyone's really please hit the back, go back 3 minutes and just listen to what she just said over again. It was so beautiful. It was so well said.
I'm wishing that Sarah lived on our street where we could go for walks and be buddies every day.
I would
I'm
love
so mad you're so far, because you would fit in with Eva and I so well. This is amazing. I love it.
I would love
Wait, can I ask you about meditation? Can we just have a real heart-to-heart around meditation?
Oh, yeah, I can relate.
Okay, because I, like you, have a mind that just goes. And I can go on a run, I can go on a walk, I can just be with myself. I don't mind being alone. I don't mind it being quiet. But this concept of just sitting and just breathing for any length of time, much less longer than 5 or 10 minutes, I understand. I see the data. I understand it all. I even preach it to people, but I'm not good at having it be a practice, something that I actually do. So having spent a week with the monks and having such resistance with it, do you meditate? What is your thoughts now on meditation, flow, or just meditation, maybe not even tied to flow? I'm just curious. I want to know what Sarah brings into this concept.
Completely different. So when I learned with the monks, I learned they did breath, vipassana, so follow the breath. And genuinely, the first 2 days, you meditated for on average of 8 to 9 hours a day. That's all you did. And I legitimately just thought, I'm going to throw myself in the lake at one point. I would do anything to escape this. This is absolutely horrific. I don't get it. There was all these kind of just blissful. Oh, did you feel that blissful moment? I'm like, no, I did not. No, this is absolute torture for me. By day 3, I really had this, I just was like, okay, just focus on the breath, I've actually never shared this story before. So yeah, I've only ever told it to my husband. I don't even think anybody else.
Tell us.
But I had the most incredible experience where I actually thought I might have died because I couldn't feel my body. I felt nothing. My body felt really big, and then I felt nothing. I couldn't feel my hands. I could just about sense my lip, but that was it. And the whole self disappeared. It was like everything became dark and there was just me. And it was the most beautiful, scary. I actually thought I need to try and open my eyes and shake myself out of this. And from that point onwards, I have meditated consistently every day. And I really enjoy it. But it's hard, especially when you almost kind of get a kick from your adrenaline mind brain. But now I can only do it with breath. I can only do it the way that they taught me. I can't listen to meditations, and I've tried different apps and they don't work for me. So yeah, I just follow the breath and I do it 10 minutes every day. And I notice when I skip it because I can feel that brain ramp up again. So yeah, I do.
It works. You're saying it works.
Yeah, it does.
I think that's our next adventure.
Okay,
Eva.
yeah, if we can sit somewhere.
We're going to have to do it. I don't want to, but we're doing it.
8 hours and focus on breathing.
Yeah,
I think
we are doing it.
There are a lot of free Buddhist meditation centers all over the world who teach courses for free. I think if you can do anything like that and learn from someone directly, that was really powerful for me. But it's not easy. Anyone that tells you it's easy is, I don't know, already blissed out, because I found it extremely hard.
Thanks for being honest about that. So do you meditate in the mornings, at night? Do you have like a set time that you do it? What does it
No.
look like? Let's talk about that. Let's get into the journal system a little bit. Let's talk about what does your day look like and how committed are you to keeping that sort of schedule or ritual?
Yeah. So in the morning, generally, like nothing really starts truthfully until I like pour myself a coffee. So that's like the ritual number one is like a nice cup of coffee in the morning. And then I do the journal system every day. Sometimes, being truthfully honest, sometimes at the weekends I don't do it. Like if I just kind of feel like I'm just really happy just not to kind of plan out today and I'm just happy to release, then I won't do it. But generally every day I journal for flow. And then I don't have a strict meditation ritual. I don't necessarily do it at a particular time. At the minute, I tend to meditate around lunchtime because I'll meditate on things that I'm working on just to see like what comes in. But after I journal, after I have my breakfast, I go for a walk. I do like 30 minutes walk like in nature, kind of near me. And that's kind of it. But that's it. Like when I developed the journal system for flow, it had to be short. Like I had really great ideas and I really want to be this person. Like, I don't know if I'll ever reach that stage, but I want to be like the 5 a.m.er that like puts on the beautiful yoga gear and has like a green juice and, namaste to like the sunrise. Like I totally want to be that person. In reality, I'm normally in like a mixed matched pair of pajamas. Like my hair is really messy and I like roll out of bed and just try to find the coffee. So like I need to start like minimal. So the journaling and a walk is probably like just right for me, but it works. That works for me.
Oh, I love it. I so want to be that person too. And then my alarm goes off at 5 and I go, yeah, no.
I'm like,
no.
yeah. I love my sleep. But I think that's it. Like, I think you can have really elaborate morning routines if that works for you. But equally, I think you can do a lot within 10 or 15 minutes at the start of your day. And actually, the start of your day is so important. And the more, like, a lot of our conversation has been about how do you get out of your way? How do you build momentum? How do you create this alignment in your life? And when we bring life back to that basic part, it starts every day. Like every day, it's cliche as it sounds, but it is a new opportunity. It's a chance to kind of build that momentum. And I think that's the beautiful part of journaling. It's like your grown-up version of your 13-year-old diary, where you set out, like, this is how I want to use my time on earth. Like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to experience the world around me. And you set that out before other people determine it for you, because we all know you can step out into the world and there will be people who will sweep you up in their priorities, who will grab your time and grab your attention. And before you know it, you still have those same goals and dreams, but 6 months or a year has passed and you haven't done anything about it. And it's not because you're not willing or you're not motivated or you're not capable. It's because you've just got swept up, in life and in other people's stuff.
So let's talk about the journal system specifically. What do you journal? You wake up, you got your coffee. Do you have, do you have like have you created a piece of paper that you print off and that you fill out? Is it in a notebook? Is it?
I'm like looking forward to see
if it's journaling. What are you journaling? What does that look like to you? How often are you journaling throughout the day?
Yeah. So every day, every morning, every nighttime, and I just have a notebook, just a notebook, a lined notebook. I think this is the nice thing about the journal system is it's accessible to everyone. I'll give a summary here, but if anyone's interested, I have like a free tutorial on YouTube that you can check out. I think if you just put in journal for flow state, it'll be like the top result. But what's nice is as long as you have a bit of paper and a pen, you can do it anywhere. So I wake up in the morning, I get my coffee, kind of allow myself just to, wake up a little bit. And then in the morning, the journal system starts with a gratitude practice. So you just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Very, very simple, but actually very important because it's going to give you that hit of dopamine first thing in the morning. That's a feel-good factor. It's also proven to help regulate stress and boost your immune system as well, which is right now feels quite important. But it also importantly gives you that sense of clarity. So you guys will I think most people relate to this. You know those days when you feel really good and everything goes your way and you can just focus your attention with greater ease? And that's really important for flow. Well, that's what gratitude does. When you practice that first thing in the morning, it's going to give you that sense of clarity for the day. But rather than just leaving it there, you want to build on that. So the next stage of the journal system is to set your priorities for the day. And we distinguish these between high value priorities, things that you must do, and then high flow priorities, things that you want to do or activities where you know that you feel in flow. And then you pop those into a schedule for your day. And then the final bit is my favorite bit, because a key part of the psychology of flow and the formula for flow is immediate feedback, that you understand what progress looks, feels, and sounds like as your day unfolds. So you literally just script out your anticipated day. This is how I want to feel. This is what I'm going to see. This is, what I'm going to hear. And what that does is really important, because often we can have, our urgent and important tasks, and we can have a to-do list, but we don't necessarily think and we don't tell our brains how we want to feel in that scenario. So if you think about going to a job interview, right, that might be on your list. I've got to go to my job interview today. But how do you want to feel in that job interview? If you tell your brain, I'm calm, I'm confident, I see myself shake that person's hand or, smile, and I hear them ask me questions and I hear my voice clear and steady as I respond, that pulls your brain into alignment, and your attention understands how it needs to perform in that task, and that enables flow. So flow is this blend of order, brings inner order to the chaos of our minds, which is our mind's natural state. And then once it understands that, it's able to be congruent, so thoughts, feelings, emotions align, and then it can just flow. It's a steady, it understands how it needs to perform. So you can just let the day unfold because you're anticipating the things that you want to see, hear, and feel. And you understand your priorities for the day. So it's really simple.
Can I ask another question, Shelley? Are you okay with me asking one more question?
Yes, go ahead.
I know we said we would take turns, but I just have so many questions. I'll let you ask the next one, Shelley. Okay, so take me to Sarah 2.5 years ago. You've got this Instagram that you're starting up. It's The Power to Reinvent, right? That's your Instagram that started. It's great. You guys should check it out. So what do you, let's pretend the journal system already existed then. So you wake up, you're grateful for your husband, you're grateful for the whatever country, beautiful country you're living in, and your wonderful cup of coffee that you get to have.
Yeah.
Where do you put, what are your high flow? Just give me an example of the Sarah at that time. What are the high flow priorities that you're setting, and where does the Instagram or that kind of come into versus your high value priorities? What's the high value priority Sarah doing versus the high flow? So just some real life examples, maybe from a typical day for you.
Yeah. So high value priorities might be things like really boring adulting stuff. Like I've got to go and pay a bill, or I've got to go and do a shop and get my groceries in for the week, or I've got to have like a really difficult conversation with someone, just like they're normally kind of your obligation stuff. But they're important for flow because high value priorities, I like to think of them as like my get in front of it priorities, right? You know that thing could cause overwhelm further on down the line and create resistance. If you don't have that tricky conversation with a friend, or you don't pay the bill, or you don't have the food in, like that can take a lot of your energy and cause resistance. So I want to get in front of that. That really helps me stay in that place of flow. So it's boring adulting lifestyle, like just life stuff. You may not ever feel in flow in those high value priorities. The high flow priorities, though, they would be things like, I'm going to do a short course, I'm going to teach myself, or like listen to an inspirational talk on writing, or I'm going to go for a swim or a run or do some form of exercise, because I know when I do that I feel in flow, I feel in the zone, that inner voice disappears, time disappears. I might have a great conversation, like go out for dinner with friends and have a great conversation. Like we've been talking for 44 minutes now, it says in the corner. I feel like it's been 5, I'm clearly in flow. Like something like that, or writing an Instagram post. What I love about the high flow priorities and why I intentionally, made them part of the journal system was that was my way of structuring happiness into my day, because I had lost myself to high value priorities. That's all my life was before. That was the bit that got me in the mess and caused me to de-self, because everything was about, well, I've got to do this and I have to do this and I've got to see that person. Like my life was just a big guilt obligation sandwich back then. And I was like just squeezed right in the middle of it. But the high flow priorities are a reminder each day that I'm worthy, that I can integrate happiness into my day. And it caused me to be a detective about, well, where do I feel in flow? What feels in alignment for me, and how can I structure my day more around that? So it's in this intentional practice of taking care of your happiness and building time in for that.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that was amazing. Another amazing story. Sarah, my question is, I'm not a person who's really good about writing, meaning like journaling, and it's almost like meditation. And maybe because I'm not a great speller or whatever it is, it's just not my thing. But I would really like to, if it could be so beneficial, and I know there's other people like me, in your book, if I were to buy your book, does it show you exactly like examples and different things so that I could learn to be a better journaler?
The book is really practical. It has like little journal pages at the back to get you started, but really modeling. But it's really practical. It's got like a lot of prompts and a lot of tips and tips and tricks. My goodness, Sarah, that was terrible. Don't sound like that. But yeah, it's very, very practical. I would say though, and this is a bit that a lot of people, myself included, gets kind of caught up on when it comes to journaling, is no one is marking your journal. You're not going to turn it in and like get a gold star on it. No one's ever going to read it. Your journal is your sanctuary. It should just be a place for you. I struggle to even read some days what I've written. Like I go back through it and I'm like, what does that say? It's like a scroll. It actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how legible it is. It doesn't matter if it's spelling mistakes. It genuinely doesn't matter, because no one is going to read that book unless you want them to. And mine's messy, but it's my sanctuary. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just my place where I get to put down my thoughts, but it's not anything that is going to be marked. You're not going to be tested on it. You don't have to do a good job. It is like writing a shopping list. If you can write a shopping list on a bit of paper, then you can journal. It's no different. It's just pen and paper.
And it just came to mind, Sarah, that is, if I start journaling, I can look back a month later and maybe even see where I've improved or things that I've made happen because of that journaling. So it's maybe just going to be a reminder. So I'm going to challenge me and any of those other listeners out there I'm definitely getting your book. So excited about that. Once again, where would we find that, Eva, the book?
It's findyourflowthebook.com, but also it's just everywhere. I mean, anywhere you would go and buy a book, Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just making sure
Google it and look it up. And it's really, like she said, it's super, super helpful. It's really easy, walks you through everything. Heck, even if you don't write it down, even if you just wake up and you have these things in your mind and you just sit with yourself and you just say, okay, what am I grateful for? And what are my 3 things that I have to get done today? And where am I going to stick those in my schedule? And then what are my 3 flow priorities, and where am I going to stick those or do I get to stick those into my schedule? And then you have nighttime reflection. Did you talk about that already? When do you?
Little, but that's because, Shelley, you made a really good point about see how far that you've progressed and how far that you've come. And I think like the nighttime reflection is an important part of that. It closes the flow feedback loop. So, at our start of our day, it's really important that we're intentional, but at the end of the day, it's really important to take those little micro dots of feedback that you've scattered throughout your day and be like, what went well? When was I in flow? What didn't go well? And for me, when I started to do the nighttime reflection, what I noticed was there was a lot of unconscious behavioral patterns that came to light, things that I was telling myself were totally fine and acceptable and normal. And then it was like every week I'd be like, that's interesting. You still haven't done that. Like there's definitely fear there. Like there's something. So like trying to dig into like what's going on there. Why are you not taking action towards that thing? And I learned so much about myself in that process, because it was like, I didn't realize that was an issue. I didn't realize that was a pattern in my life. So it's a really powerful way to get to know yourself on a better level and to pay attention to those little patterns, positive and I hate the term negative because I don't think there's any negative patterns. I just think it's indifferent, but the things that are maybe holding you back a little bit that you need to go. Like for me, it was like around exercise. Every day I'd be like, I'm going to work out. And every day I was like, I was too busy to work out. And then when I started to read back every week, I was like, you have not worked out in like 3 weeks, Sarah, because every day you write that you're too busy. Like, I'm pretty sure there's an issue there. So just then like getting curious, because your journal becomes a safe spot where it's like, you're like, hey, what's up there with this exercise? How can I start small,
I love that you're just so like honest with yourself. I really hope that the listeners can see that to really have flow. You just got to be real with yourself, just seeing what it is that where you're falling short and where you want to get better. And, I last week, I was thinking to myself, okay, I have this one grant I'm going to do. And if I just do this one turned into 2, turned into 3, and then turned into 2 thank you notes. It was like, I noticed that when you set a high value priority, even just one, you get into the groove of it and you're like, you know what, I'm already paying this bill, might as well just pay 3 more. Does that happen to you sometimes, whether it's a flow thing or a high priority thing, where just even starting that one thing then gives you the momentum to get into doing a little bit more? Like exercising for 5 minutes might lead to 20, but at least you've done the 5, right?
I mean, eventually, like now I'm like so much fitter. Like, I can actually run, I do like HIIT workouts, I go swimming. I've tried like so many different things, I've got really into cold water swimming here at the minute, like doing things I never thought I would do. And I think like that's the beauty of flow is it's 2 things. There's the flow and the thing that lights you up and that you feel in alignment with. But like never be frightened of that resistance, because it's so interesting. Like when you have the courage to like dig a little bit deeper and then you clear that space for you to be like, okay, there's clearly something around this, like start off small. And now that's built into this whole new kind of relationship and experience that I have with exercise, which is something that I would never have anticipated before. And again, this is the beauty of it, where it kind of like brings us in a nice look back where you said you do that thing that you didn't think was possible. And that's what flow enables you to achieve. You start off small, you build that momentum, and then before you know it, like you're doing extraordinary things that 2 months ago you were like, struggling. I was struggling to do like a 15-minute HIIT exercise because I don't know why, like frightened, feared, self-sabotage, I think like limiting beliefs about like, oh, well, you can't have it all and you can't be good at everything, that kind of were socially conditioned in from childhood. And then you sort of dig into that and you go, you don't belong here. Someone else put you here and I need to take you out because no, you don't live in here. And then you just become more of you. And I think, like now I enjoy being authentic. Like I don't want to be anybody else. I like being me. And I never thought I would say that. I always thought I had to be somebody else, or somebody like perform and please. And now I'm like, yeah, this is just me, perfectly imperfect.
I have another question for you, and it keeps coming up in my brain. Is something you said earlier, which was you've written another book. We have to have you back. I want to know what that book is, and I want to know everything about it, because today, I don't know, I just feel so close to you, even just having this kind of a conversation. It's been so wonderful. So what's your next book? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, the next book is called Choose Happy, and it's about happiness. Yeah, happiness in the past, the present, and the future. So yeah, it's coming out March 2021. Yeah.
Wow.
Really
I'm so happy for you. Do you look back at that paper, and say, wow, I'm on my path? Has it adapted? Has it evolved? Are you checking things off that list? Where are you at with the life plan that you wrote out for yourself a couple years ago?
I do. I love going back to it, and it's crazy. There's still so much I want to achieve. And sometimes I can be hard on myself and be like, why haven't you done X, Y, and Z? But sometimes you just have to take that step back and be like, celebrate your success, like look at what you've done, and then remind yourself of all these beautiful lessons that you've learned. Don't let that old belief system creep back in again. You know, it's hard because it's hardwired into you. Enjoy the journey, align, you know, keep on kind of living in that flow. And I don't think you can ever go wrong when you live from that place. So yes, there is still a lot that I want to achieve and do in the world. But I'm really happy just to enjoy the journey. Yeah.
My face hurts from smiling so much today.
I know, this was so great.
It was so good, Sarah, having you on. Thank you so much for saying
Thank
yes,
you so much.
for being our second guest ever.
Yay, thank
you for
you.
creating this beautiful space. You're just a joy to be with. You really are.
Thank you so much. I cannot wait to have you back to talk about your next book and just everything that you're doing. So Sarah, let everyone know and let us know where they can meet you, reach out to you, get your book. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so probably the easiest place is findyourflowthebook.com, and then there's some social media handles there where you can connect. And my social media, the best place is Instagram, and it's @thepowertoreinvent.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. Don't hang up. We're going to end the podcast and then say bye to you offline. So don't leave us just when we say bye to everyone else. But I do want to say bye to everyone else. Thank you so much for being here today, for listening to Sarah Gregg. You guys, check out this book, Find Your Flow. Follow her on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. She's always putting out amazing content. Her Instagram posts are always insightful. They're helpful. If you want to live a life in flow, follow Sarah Gregg. She's amazing. And if you just want to be happier, her next book's going to talk all about that. So I cannot wait. And I'm so grateful that you are my friend and in this flow community with all of us. Keep doing whatever it is you're doing because it's beautiful and it's just bringing more flow to the world, Sarah. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So if you want to check us out, settolove.com, you can send us emails, questions. We will tackle your questions around flow at settolovepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for being here. Have a great weekend. We will see you Monday morning, 8:30 a.m. for 15 minutes of daily flow.